Hello and welcome to China Focus. I'm Shelley Zhang. Last week, after disappointing first quarter GDP numbers and other economic indicators showed a slowing Chinese economy, the Politburo Standing Committee, the highest level of leadership within the Communist Party, held a special session on the Chinese economy. Here today to talk about that meeting and its significance, we have China analysts Chen Zhifei and Jason Ma. So, a lot of people are reporting on this. Why are so many people talking about this meeting?
For two reasons. First, this meeting itself is a little bit special. I mean, although the meeting itself is a regular meeting, but normally this Politburo only addresses economic issue 3 times a year in their February meeting, in their July meeting, and in their December meeting. But now suddenly in the middle, in the April meeting, they begin also address this. So people really kind of think, gosh, this is definitely an indication of there is a strong message.
So is
the second reason is a lot of people are expecting some new decision, new incentive will be kind of started after the disappointing 7.7 GDP growth in China. So people are waiting for a new decision, new direction, but this meeting didn't really give what they want.
So do you think this was kind of thrown together to respond to the first quarter numbers?
That's a lot of people's speculation, and that's make this meeting so freight with a lot of implications. First of all, I just want to add on to Jason's earlier remark about its timing. Last time they had a meeting of this kind of scale and on this particular topic, economy, that was in 2004. Before financial crisis, and so it's very largely unprecedented.
So the timing is
special. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I agree with what Jason said. When the bad news came out that the GDP number unexpectedly slipped, the focus is on expectation. Because nobody had anticipated that GDP would decline so much, and the people were waiting for them to give an answer. Also, there were a lot of speculation. Some people would think the number was not real. They would expect China to fight back to tell people actually we're doing well. But this meeting gave the official affirmation that the Chinese economy is really in bad shape. That's also what he's talking about.
So let's talk a little bit about what they said in the meeting. What were some of the things that they brought up?
Basically, they are talking about, they emphasize stability. I mean, my interpretation is the slower growth will stay here. I mean, because the emphasize stability means you shouldn't use the language of stability generally in the sense of accepting this 7-point-something GDP. So they basically saying don't expect another 10 years of 10% of GDP growth. So 7% is okay. It's stability thing. Another they emphasize is the risk, existing risk in their financial system. And so basically, of course, they said a lot of other things. The good part, this good, that's good. But in summary, I think there is one can they emphasize stable growth. Another is risk in finance.
Well, stable growth sounds good.
Stable growth, well, stability and growth don't really match up well, right? They're going in different directions. And that's why people are thinking they are giving conflicting messages. So which pedal they're going to press, either it's accelerator or the brake, which of course have the proverbial association with stability and growth. That's uncertain. And so what is really of significance is, first of all, their meeting confirms people's perception that the economy is going down. Secondly, people were worried from the meeting, about the meeting, especially its outcome is the leadership is clueless about what's the next step to go. Whether it's a stability, that is to curb the credit, to stifle the skyrocketing speculative activity in the market, or it is to go to the familiar path of open the spigot of the money that would flood the market.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk with the stability thing. They're talking about quality of growth. What does quality of growth mean?
I think the key point is that right now China's growth primarily depends on those low added value manufacturer job. So they want to upgrade their things to something like Korean's economy, they have built an international brand, selling
high-tech manufacturing instead of
I think it has many
pieces.
meanings. First of all, I agree with him, and also I just want to broaden a little bit. It may also include real estate. the infrastructure project that have negative real returns. Secondly, they wanted to compel, initiate, or drive the internal demand. Because they're thinking the export-driven, the export-oriented driven economy is too dangerous for them. The country cannot afford to be the world factory at the cost of these consumers.
But haven't we been talking about this for a long time? The idea that they want to do more consumption.
Yeah, right. But I think but normally the quicker solution for Chinese kind of government is always dump more money to the economy, and that was done in this kind of 2007-8, and they dumped like a 4 trillion renminbi over there, and then last year, I mean, they dumped when the kind of economy went kind of slow down, they dumped people. The number is not released, but some people saying 6 trillion over there, and
so even more than 2008.
More than right, and that's the key point. I mean, basically, when they dump so much money at the end of last year, people begin to see the manufacturer kind of begin to expand again, and everything looks kind of going up. And so people expect this report will see 8%, at least 8% of GDP. No, they didn't say it, they say lower. So this makes people so kind of disappointed because you dump so much money in economy.
That was a huge stimulus, basically.
Right, you still didn't get much out of it. So means there's nothing you can do about it. And then this meeting just confirmed it. The government said, no, we are not going to dump more money because we don't think that work. So you have to accept it.
They didn't really say it like that.
Right, but I think they mean that.
Well, if China is not a nation state, if Chinese economy, if you see it as a Western company, then what they're doing is tantamount to the corporate disclosures companies usually provided before a bad earnings came out.
So you're saying they're trying to soften the blow?
Yeah, soften the blow. That's exactly what happened. They're trying to ratchet down expectations. And look at what happened with Apple. Apple's earnings was still going well, but the margins have come down. And they lost 1/3, or even more than 1/3 of values in the past half year. Then companies have to explain it, have to clarify their position, and they have to convince people they have new technology coming out, they have new iPhone coming out. But what is worrying, really made people nervous about it is they did that part just as Apple did, but they didn't have iPhone 6 in their stock. They couldn't convince people they have new technology, new thing to convince people keep sending money that way. That's what
here's
was troubling.
kind of to your point. There was this editorial that Xinhua wrote that was published in People's Daily, the English edition, and China Daily, spread around called talking about short sellers crying wolf on China's economy. So it seems to be directly addressing, first of all, like Western businesses, people doing business with China, and saying, okay, people are worried about the credit bubble, local debt issues, poverty bubble. But we're tightly monitoring all of these things, so it's under control.
I think it's probably just kind of, at this moment, find a scapegoat, I mean, in some sense, because for a long period of time, Wall Street and the media has pretty kind of good honeymoon with the Chinese government. I mean, almost all the mainstream media, financial media will say, wow, China is the future of the world, kind of the world, and China will be the driving force of the global growth. And so they dumped so much emphasis to China. So many kind of media went into China and then have people carefully study China. And so many kind of investment bank go to China and the kind of people there. After they carefully studied China, gradually, all the media, all the bank begin to have some negative reports come out, which is just a reflect of the truth, which is something we already said for many years. And then after kind of they get into China, begin to know China more, they also begin to report it. China suddenly found that, okay, the honeymoon is finished, so immediately they consider this is a signal for shorting China. But I don't think all the kind of people are shorting China. They just begin to talk about the true situation.
There are no mechanism in place for people really to short China economy as they could during the 1997 financial crisis swept across Southwestern Asia. It's impossible because there is capital control. You cannot easily get your money out. So that's really diminished the chance for them to do that. And also the capital markets are tightly regulated. There are different classes of shares, and people cannot freely dabble in the market. So there is no such thing as short selling. So I agree with Jason, it's largely a scapegoating.
So do you think that they were put out this editorial very publicly to, talk to these people? Is there something else?
This creates some threat to their current situation. People read news and make their financial or investment decision. I mean, if more and more people consider there's no fast growth, easy money in China, they may stop keep putting money inside China. And right now, I know China prints so much money in China, and the Chinese people inside China are seeing this like a real kind of inflation. But outside China, because of the foreign invest in China, because of the export in China, so the conversion rate of renminbi are still pretty kind of strong. They are going up, which give China a lot of buying power. And if people begin to worry about the China economy, begin to not put China in money, keep putting money in China, China may have a quicker, even more quicker downturn. So this make them worry about all the media exposure of Chinese issue. So they begin to...
The way they talk about it, it seems like they want to make it seem like this is a purposeful, well thought out decision.
Conspiracy theory is popular in China.
Ostensibly, it's what they are trying to achieve, for sure. But if you do some in-depth analysis, it doesn't really make much sense. On the one hand, they're stressing stability. Like I said earlier, you're basically hitting both the pedals of accelerator and brake. How could it make it happen? So if you look at the Chinese economy, it used to be like a fast-going train. Now the driver is doing something crazy, like a drunkard. You're hitting the pedal, randomly. Then you are seeing a train wreck. That's why Wall Streeters became nervous, become anxious. Used to be that they're hype on China. There are still some apologists who are still defending the position. They're saying, okay, what they said, what they put out at the meeting was encouraging because now they're trying to do some adjustment to the strategic
they're trying to control the property market. Yeah. They're saying, okay, local debts are guaranteed by the central government, so that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, and then they're going to, like I said, drive the demand internally. But the thing is, the details are the devil. The devil's in the detail, right? So how are they going to do that? They tried to do that for the past 15 years, and they are just using it as a boilerplate argument. And I think people see some kind of panicky reaction from top leadership for sure, and then people are worrying about what's the next step. That's also the reason why people in China are grabbing the chance to buy as much gold as possible because they're seeing some kind of financial crisis looming on the horizon.
Right, but overall, my understanding is that this meeting by itself is a pretty good kind of indicator to all the investors in China. I mean, what you worried about is really happening, which is confirmed by the top leader in China. So in some sense, you should get yourself ready for something happen in China. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you both for joining us today to talk about this issue, and thanks for watching. For more on this and other issues in China, join us at ntd.tv.